I think about the fires that happened. I think it was like last year. Um, and then Florida got hit by some hurricanes, and really seeing the rhetoric between those two things. Like, you know, when California was getting hit by fires, it was God's judgment and His punishment on the state of California. But then when Florida got hit by um hurricanes, it was, oh, pray for the people of Florida. You know, may God spare them and save them. And I just, as a native of California, I just had a hard time with that. Like, why are we wishing judgment on one group of people and wishing mercy on the other? Oh, that we would wish mercy for all people. Really seeing that there was a lack of gospel access in the state of California. I grew up, like I mentioned earlier in the episode, like, in the state of California, like there just wasn't a lot of gospel centered churches that were there. And I think people, particularly in the Bible Belt, they have a really hard time um, comprehending that. I think their view of everyone, because it's the way people in the Bible Belt grow up. You're raised in church, and then you become an adult, and you either stray from God or you follow God, do the right path, and you get married. You get the job, and you live the American dream. That's the Bible Belt picture of Christianity. And so when they're looking at states like California, they're like, oh, they assume that they have the same upbringing as they did. And the reality is that cultural Christianity died out a long time in California. And honestly, that's probably a good thing. Because I find a great frustration with cultural Christianity. I Don't get me wrong, I want Christianity to really inform and shape our culture, but this Bible Belt type of Christianity, I often find myself very frustrated with, because it's blind to the fact that that Southern Bible Belt culture is not Christian culture. It's Southern culture. Um, I digress from that. The point being is that that is the assumption, and the reality is, I grow up. I'm thinking about my childhood, and I never once heard the gospel growing up in California. I think about my wife, who became a Christian at the age of 6 at her Baptist church in her small town in Texas. Like, she grew up hearing that Jesus died for her sins, and that she, by trusting in Him, she could be saved. And I have, like, I think about it, I have no memory of hearing it, and I have a really rough story. I wish that I had my wife's story. A lot of people look down on my wife's story. I think it's beautiful that she was raised in a Christian home, and that she became a believer. And I'm not saying that she didn't have hard times and she didn't go through periods of habitual sin and whatnot, but she largely, like, when I look at her life, like, the Lord has really preserved her from a young age, and I don't see that in California. I didn't experience that, and so for that reason, that really started to grow in me, and I was like, Lord, what should I do? Um, and I was going to my church, which itself is a church plant of the village, and and my pastor, he recommended me the church planting residency with the village, and through a whole long process, I got accepted into that, and I really became convicted. Like, the Lord is calling me to reach my home state, to preach the gospel. How is that done? That's done by planting churches. And so it comes between a mix of burden and theological conviction. I have the burden to reach my people, to reach my home state. Theologically, how do I reach that? By going in, loving a neighborhood, loving a community, and planting a church. And so that's what I'm going to do.